they're always at the top.
In 2023, BYD produced more than 3 million new energy vehicles, which include plug-in hybrids and battery electrics, surpassing Tesla's production of 1.8. In the world of electric vehicles, Tesla has reigned supreme, but its days as top dog may be numbered.
Well, top dog, the car is very performing. There is a huge difference in terms of performance, handling, you know, all the electronic. And if you go more to autonomous drive, the data they have and the type of uh, chips and the type of um, software they are able to run on that, and the usage of artificial intelligence. I don't know if we will ever catch up. The only one that can catch up is China.
In China, the world's
Yeah.
largest EV market, it's been losing ground to domestic automakers as a ruthless price war has inflamed an already competitive market.
If Tesla had not
Yeah,
had
yeah,
price,
for sure there is a lot of competition, but it is allowed by the state. The state decide which sector it's strategic, very important to invest in, and so they did in all the renewable and as well as electric cars. Sometimes with the foreign purchase of some smaller companies, like it happened, for example, in solar panel, where the initial purchase was a German company worth around 800 million. But in 1 year, 2 year, they became the biggest producer. This already happened again in the electric cars. Um, the only competitor of Chinese electric cars are the fact that European brands and some other brands do have the name. And then there is really Tesla as the only competitor on technical things. They do have the brand, they have Elon Musk, but especially the car is really performing. But what we know is that when a company does move to China or wants to move part of the operations to China, like Elon Musk did with one of the mega factories, you have to give something back to the Chinese. And of course, they're going to allow you to get all their network of cheaper suppliers of a very vast network of very big and cheap suppliers, which for example means a lot of parts for the engines, batteries, everything. Every supplier for Tesla in China is way cheaper than a supplier in Germany or in the United States. So you have this advantage. Then you can have tax advantage, like happen in many other countries. This, and you can have energy discount. You can, get the free land where you want to build your factory. These agreements are secret. They are usually not disclosed, and we don't know them. But what we can see now is that there is also a know-how exchange. I don't know if it's wanted or not, but inevitably, once Tesla started to rely on Chinese suppliers, that know-how for the single parts and even for the softwares, but also design, started to spill over to Chinese companies. And in that moment, their electric car made a huge step forward. BYD was already big, but in terms of really performance and quality, huge leap ahead now after a couple of years that Tesla is in China as well, and the same for Volvo. Many people think Volvo is European brand, but it has been bought by China, and they started to produce the first electric SUV, a medium-sized SUV. It's called EX30, and pretty much all the concept of how the interior are made, how the software are made, um, the design of the engines, to have a version with single motor, double motor, the range, and the performance, literally the 0 100, is very very similar to what Tesla does have. And here in Europe, we never have been able to achieve those performance, especially not when combined with the higher efficiencies that those cars have. So at the end, they use less kilowatt per hour than the European counterparts. It could be, an ID3, an ID4, or an Audi. Well, they are really using a lot of energy. The car uses a lot of energy. We don't know why, if it's the engine, the electronic, whatever. But at the end of the story, energy management is much, much worse. And this means that usually the declared range is much, much smaller, many times almost half that what is declared, making these cars really not competitive, especially because they are not cheaper.
Cuts of 20 to 30%, they probably would have actually had sales drop last year.
Yeah, Tesla is very, very concerned about sales drops because it does mean a lot to the shareholders. But this also follows a little bit the market. There has been a slowdown in electric vehicle sales, but this very often is just related to the future incentives, at least here in Europe, that are not out. So this is withholding a lot new purchases. This can be one reason. In China, sure, there is strong competition from domestic producers, and so some of the sales got harmed, but not as bad as the ID3. Many people don't know, but the ID3 is sold in China approximately at 10,000 euro. I don't know exactly, close to that, between 10 and 15,000. And it is sold as a huge loss, the ID3 from Volkswagen, because they try to keep a market share, but it's not possible because the car is absolutely not at the level of a Tesla or a modern Chinese car. So yeah, even slashing the prices, even having the brand like Volkswagen, which is kind of a good brand, it's not enough. So when Elon Musk, almost in anticipation to other electric vehicle producers, decided to slash the prices, first of all, he thinks like there is always huge demand for electric vehicle, just the people don't have enough money to pay, which is very true, especially in Europe. So that's one reason. But at the same time, he saw the drop coming and he decided on models that don't they have not been having restyling, models that had a couple of years. He said like let's give them on sale, and this allowed many of these cars, to receive additional government incentives because they re-enter in a certain range of price, and of course this pulverized the competition. Like I don't see any electric cars in Europe anymore if it's not Tesla, honestly. New purchases are exclusively Tesla, and unfortunately for us, for Europe, but also for all the European supply chain that employs a lot of people, um, it's really bad because um, yeah, Tesla opened a mega factory in Germany, but where are the European producers? Where are them? They continue to produce products that are absolutely not at the level compete. Therefore, even people that are willing to buy, mostly because of the brand, because maybe it's an Audi or something, after a little bit they have to sell it, or usually they don't sell it, they give it back to the to the shop, to the official shop, and they trade it in with a usual diesel or a gasoline one, just because these cars do not make enough kilometers. So yeah, that's a huge problem.
And there's one car maker in particular that has given Tesla a run for its money: Warren Buffett backed BYD. The
Buffett
Chinese
back.
auto
Well, this means all and nothing. Sometimes investment funds and investors decide to back something in China because now the trend is very much into, you know, uh, unpairing from China, and so for them is a huge damage for all these investors because they have so many companies that are so strongly exposed to China, and China is for them the biggest growth market.
Maker logged 2.4 million new car insurance registrations in 2023, making it the top brand in China with a market share of 11%.
I don't think
Yeah, that's
anywhere in
huge
the
growth.
history of the automobile has any company enjoyed such explosive growth in such a short period of time.
Yeah, yeah. This is not a surprise. No, this is not a surprise. The level of dedication, the capability of resources allocation, not just like a central government resources allocated to be wasted, but allocated to really be used as a great investment. I think it's impossible for anyone else not in China to compete because I don't know. e- Even in Italy, we could maybe electric cars is a kind of a big sector, but we could pick a sector we want to really strong invest. The government goes in, he allocates the money, the privates are let in this field to compete, and you can build something great. You don't need so many billions to do that in specific sectors. Like I don't know, it could have been in the past electric scooters that are kind of popular among our in our cities, but we do not operate like this. For some reason, our economies are not centrally organized because when they have been centrally organized, they perform more poorly. So the central organization is good when it's done very well. It's better than a peripheral organization where everything is left to the single private. But yeah, it has to be organized in a performing way, in an efficient way, not to waste public resources.
Has grown into this powerhouse. You look at the monthly rankings, they're always at the top.
In 2023,
Yeah.
BYD produced more than 3 million new energy vehicles, which
Yeah, this is also interesting, and it deals with a lot of sectors, by the way, on the green energy in China. This BYD, by the way, you can see it starts to look nice. Isn't it nicer than many Tesla? But anyway, so okay, but 3 million sales. Well, this is interesting because this gives you in 1 year, in 2 years, the possibility to kind of carry on the project. You just like have an updated model. You can see what was wrong, review it, and you have a newer version, and then another one, and newer version, and another one. It's already your fourth version. While in Europe, we're still discussing what to do pretty much. So it's very difficult then to fill these gaps when there is a lot of technology involved. Might be that we never do it.
include plug-in hybrids and battery electrics, surpassing Tesla's production of 1.84 million cars.
BYD is so much ahead of Tesla in China.
Utterly.
It's almost ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah, maybe Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, now he died unfortunately, but maybe they really believed in some of the Chinese companies. But I think for them, their company was always about investing in America, believing in America. It might be a differentiation of the risk, mostly.
Early on, Elon Musk was dismissive of BYD. Chinese car makers weren't taken seriously by their rivals.
It used to be that foreign brands had the majority of the market share in China.
What did he?
Market share in
Wait, what did he say here? What do you think of BYD? Elon Musk started laughing. Have you seen their Well, yeah, yeah. No, it's true. They were so ugly. He is very straight to the point. The point is that the speed of progress that China can put in a sector is brutal, and that has to be considered. Yeah, their cars are highly competitive these days. Exactly, exactly.
It used to be that foreign brands had the majority of the market share in China. Now it's Chinese brands. And when you look at the vehicles that these
Well, it's that's if we don't kind of change something, it will be also in Europe or in United States. For the simple fact that here we're talking about very performing cars. Some Tesla, we're talking about premium vehicles sometimes in these videos because they're more interesting. But for transportation vehicle, maybe a vehicle you just have to make some kilometers. Well, there's so many variations of Kia and Hyundai already that took over European market. You put in the Chinese ones, they are on the same field. I mean, these cars are vehicles to just transport. They don't have enormous requirements. So, for sure China can do it and can do cheaper than the others. And why not? Even better. Many of their companies are very, very performing now. We don't have them.
Chinese OEMs and Chinese brands are putting on the market, they are some very good vehicles.
Now,
Yeah,
they're a
yeah.
serious threat as they not only dominate the
Yeah, one thing that has to always be considered if maybe not all of you are really motorsport passionate. You need a great engineering, and you need a lot of capabilities to produce a combustion engine. So once you remove the combustion engine problem, because you go electric, then you can fill the gap much, much easier. Then your only problem is technology, and technology they do have. So let's say nobody is at the level of Tesla, but the Chinese and in general the Americans are close. They are competing. Europe does not have any IT sector that is worth mentioning instead.
market, but have grand ambitions of expanding globally. In 2023, BYD's exports grew 334%
A
to
huge growth.
242,765 vehicles.
I just read days ago that some huge container ship that was fully loaded with BYD and other Chinese brands is coming to Europe, and they just start to sell them here. I never saw for now an electric Chinese car in Europe.
Across 70 countries.
About 40% of the EV market in China is owned by BYD, and they're just starting to export.
Yeah,
globally,
BYD is
places like Australia,
sort of Xiaomi
Japan,
for other
Europe, and
technology stuff,
potentially very soon the United States.
CLSA
for
has
sure.
some predictions that by 2026, BYD will enter the top 5 automakers in the world, and this year they may reach the top 10.
Yeah, I have no doubt about that, especially when you exclude combustion engines, that's totally viable. Yeah.
BYD, short for Build Your Dreams, was
Build
originally
your
started
dreams,
as
yes,
a
that's
battery
cool.
company in 1995 by Wang Chuanfu in Shenzhen, China.
It started out in the 90s as a manufacturer of batteries for cell phones. And for the first
Batteries
10
also,
years,
yeah.
low cost was their magic formula. We're going to undercut all the competition.
After building a successful business supplying customers such as Motorola and Nokia, it decided to enter the auto business. It bought
Yeah.
Xi'an
So, sorry, you can see already at those times, this was in the 90s, what was this board? These boards there are some politicians, there are some manager of these companies, the state media, it's an operation, it's done, it's a full state operation, and the private then is let to compete at lower level, but the decision is done always top bottom.
Chuan automobile and launched its first internal combustion car in 2005.
In 2005, so you see, from 2005 on, they could never make it to have a decent combustion engine. On the contrary, other producer like South Koreans, they managed to do it. So that's like not telling anything good for combustion engines in China, but it was also different times. Maybe now it's much more viable thanks to technology.
The F3. In 2008, it launched the F3DM, a plug-in hybrid EV.
I remember driving in and riding the earliest BYDs. They were called the F3 and the F1,
Yeah.
inspired by Formula One racing.
Yeah, yeah. That's insane, because look at this crap getting a name like F3 sounds like a joke, It's or F1, it's really a joke, and this is why this thing never got of course, popular no matter what was the price. No matter what was the price.
Is almost comical because their cars were
Yeah,
these sort
exactly.
of mediocre commuter cars that were
Yeah, no
relegated
sense.
to the street.
Out of team even.
In 2010, it unveiled its first fully electric vehicle, the E6.
And this is interesting, because from 2010 already they're working on electric vehicles. It gives you expertise to work several years on.
Was progress, but it wasn't perfection. Still, taxis would buy the electric vehicle because they
Yeah,
had incentives to do so,
yeah,
but very few private individuals
yeah.
had any appetite
It's too
for
ugly,
BYD cars.
too
The
badly made
company's
they were.
auto division didn't see much growth through the 2010s.
Sales increased, but only gradually.
Gradually,
Profits on
of
those
course.
sales were mediocre. In fact, in 2018 and 2019, BYD's sales year on year were declining. Up until
Yeah,
very recently, it was on the fence whether or not it was going to make it as a car company.
yeah, absolutely. And this is because of the big shift to the electric. Yeah, but design changed also dramatically. Good design, they saw the problem of the engines, putting an electric one, and they're done.